No, maybe so. We'll assume so. I guess we're live. Who clicked live? Anyway, hello, Premed Office Hours 168. Hello, my friends. We are live. Let me click live on Instagram. And we'll head out. All right. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, the moderator for today and most days. Founder of Medical School HQ, author of the Premed Playbook series, co-founder of Mapped, all of that fun stuff. I am pleased to be with these two wonderful people, two people that are Medical School HQ advisors. We have Dina Golini, former senior admissions officer at Stanford and former assistant director of advising at Brown's SMP program, Warren Alpert Medical School. I always wonder, Warren Alpert, how much money did you donate to get your name on a school? I don't know why my brain goes to that.
It's just Alpert Medical School now.
Oh, Alpert. Oh,
yeah, they changed it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Warren. Just
Warren,
Alpert. How you doing, Dina?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am wonderful. It is Wednesday, as they say, hump day, right in the middle of the week. We are on the downward trend for the rest of the week. Brittany Granum, how are the storms treating you today? You sent some fun videos. Was that yesterday?
Couple of
storms. Yeah,
it's been wacky, kind of stormy. Apparently, hurricanes kicking stuff up, still out there in the Atlantic, still churning, heading to New England. So we're fine. We're in there. Yeah.
Former assistant dean and pre-health system advising at Hofstra University.
Yes.
All right. So if you are new here, watching on YouTube or Instagram or wherever, this is our Premed Office Hours. We're here almost every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, answering your pre-med questions. Think of it as free pre-med advising. You just need to go ask your questions over at premed.tv to get those questions thrown up on the screen and get them answered by these two experts. I chime in every once in a while, but I'm mostly here to throw the questions to them. If you like Premed Office Hours and you want more of us, go to Mapcon.com because we're going to be hanging out in Baltimore in October 6th through 8th in the beautiful Inner Harbor area. We're going to have an amazing kind of 2 days. It's Friday night, all day Saturday, and a half day Sunday. So 2 days total, but spanning 3 days of activities, sessions, workshops, hanging out, networking. We have tons of exhibitors that are going to be there, medical schools that are going to be there, recruiting students, talking to students, all of that good stuff. We have the Army that's going to be there with like a 20-foot tent and sim dummies and all kinds of amazing stuff. We still have tickets available. Go to mapcon.com. We have rooms available for Friday night. If you want to stay Friday night, the room block is sold out, unfortunately, for Saturday night. But we still got rooms for Friday night. So mapcon.com, presented by our lovely friends at Blueprint MCAT. So go check that out.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Let's rock and roll with some good questions for today. Dawa asks, I'm looking for non-science letter of recommendation, but the only non-science professor that would write me a letter of rec is my research mentor. Never took a formal course with him. Would that count as a non-science letter? Dina, letters are the bane of existence for, I think, letter writers and students trying to gather letters.
And admissions, reading
reading them all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it like research mentor screams science, but maybe it's non-science research. I don't know.
I think that every school has their own policies with letters. Some are specific, right? Like it has to be, to science, humanities, social sciences. An academic letter is academic. It's, garnered from a course you took with a grade. So if they're specifically looking for a non-science academic letter, I don't think that a research mentor, would count. However, if you're looking for your own, personally, you want to supply a non-science letter to shed light on maybe like your humanities work or something, but it's not required, then I think this would be okay.
Yeah.
But academic is usually academic.
Yeah. All right, well, good luck. This is something where we were just talking about it yesterday, adding, we have lots of extra data points for individual medical schools that aren't in MAP yet. And letters of rec, I think, are a very easy one to add, to where a student adds a school to their school list and we can see the letters of recommendations that they're planning on getting, and we can go, hey, it looks like for Stanford, you're missing this specific letter that they require. For this other school, you're missing this other letter. And so historically, we've said, right, ideally you have rule of thumb, right? 3 letters, 2 science, 1 non-science, general rule of thumb. Every school's a little bit different. And so a lot of students interpret that as, oh, I only need 3 letters. And it's like, well, right, you may need 6 letters and 3 of them go to one school and a different 3 go to another school and a different 3 go to another school. So you may need 6 letters total to encompass all of the individual requirements at all the schools. So I don't know, Dina, it'd be interesting to see what your thought is here. I don't know if you've heard me say this recently, completely anecdotal, right? No data to support this. I have a feeling that a lot of students are not accepted to schools, not interviewed, not accepted, because they are missing letter requirements. And the school is just like, we're waiting, right? Send us the letters that we require. And the students just don't get into that nuance and aren't organized enough to know, like, oh, shoot, for this school that I applied to, I'm missing a letter. And they never realize that. And then they never get in and they go, oh, I guess my grades weren't good enough. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just knowing, it's being organized and knowing what each school requires, right? And then I mention this all the time, like if you say you're sending a letter somewhere and the letter writer never submits it, but you still have enough other letters that fulfill the letter requirement, you still could be in limbo with the school, because if they're thinking that they should be expecting that letter and you never removed it from MCAS, then it's holding your application back. But yeah, I think that understanding the process in terms of what each school requires does set back a lot of students.
Yeah. Talk for a second. I'm gonna kind of piggyback on what you just said, because
Sure.
You sent a screenshot recently of a student being super excited. I think they got into school early decision because they had reached out to a school. I don't know. What was that situation? Was it a situation similar of like, hey, I think my application's being held up for some silly thing?
It was. That's a great example. We had a student who applied early decision to a school and, planned on sending a letter, and her application was being held up because the letter writer never submitted. And so she had reached out to me and said, I think this is holding my application up. I'm going to remove the letter from MCAS because my other letters fulfill the requirement. Should I let admissions know? And, usually we're very, we kind of tread lightly in how often you should contact admissions. But this was a perfect case of, yes, you should let them know, because they might not know that you removed the letter, and they could then mark your application complete and move forward. And that's what happened. And she ended getting admitted early decision.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
It's great.
I love that.
It's very exciting.
That's a Mapped Pro user for very small investments, being able to ask those questions to experts. If you, let me see, I don't know if we have a Premed office hours. Let me just do office hours. So I'm going to make a code right now. A special code. Sandy, I don't know how fast you can make a banner, but no
code.
worries. So I'm making a code office hours. If you go to maps.com and sign up for a free account, in the referral code, put office hours, all one word, and it'll give you 60 days free of of Mapped Pro, which again is $750 a month if you pay for an annual thing at $90, where you can ask questions and be like, hey, here's my situation, here's what's going on, here's all of my data that's in Mapped, can you help me understand? Mapped Pro, the chat advising inside Mapped Pro is not interview prep, it's not essay editing, but it's general advising that we can do and really help you along the way. So if you would like a little bit of extra help, go put that office hours in. Let me thanks for coming from Premed office hours. All right. And that is active. All right. That code is live. So you can go use that now. So yeah, go do that and come hang out.
I'm wondering if that student had not been proactive in figuring this out, would the school have reached out and followed up, or they would have just said no?
No.
Wow.
No.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Nobody has time. Nobody has time for that.
No, plenty more waiting.
Yeah.
Oh, so happy that she was proactive like that.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, on the admission side, it's your responsibility. Mm-hmm. It's your responsibility. Mm-hmm. You didn't send it to us and we require it, you know.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example similar to that. Our good friends at TMDSAS having a conversation with one of the people there, hearing horror stories every year of students submitting on the very first day that you can submit your application. I'm sure it happens with AMCAS and ACOMAS as well. But I just have the data from TMDSAS, students submitting like placeholder text in the personal statement. Like, don't forget to put your personal statement here. And they accidentally submit. And I'm like, don't you want to be kind and be like, they just forgot. And they responded like, do you want that person as your physician? I'm like, I can see that, but I also like understand the stress these students are under. Like, throw them a bone. Oh, it's so hard. Like to realize that you just spent that money submitting an application that is going to be auto rejected because you didn't submit a personal statement or whatever. Oh, it's so hard.
But that happens all the time too. Where, you know, I remember in my former position where students would, you know, applicants would, you know, contact admissions and say, I forgot to put this, the dates are wrong on this activity. I accidentally put the same activity twice. Like, can I make changes? Can I make changes? Can I make changes? And no, I mean, you know,
you cut off the wrong link. You make changes? No.
No.
That's not even funny.
AMCAS doesn't allow you to do that and make changes. Therefore, a school will not accept that. So you have to just be very careful, you know, before you submit. And with letters of recommendation as well, like since we're on the letter topic, it is very frustrating on the admission side to see letters. You know, you see an application that's complete and then the letters are, you know, dated from 5 years ago, don't have a signature, don't have letterhead. And it's like, you know, everything would have been great, but, you know, these letters are just not what they should be. And sometimes that's out of, you know, the student's control. But I think being, like Dr. Gray said, being really organized and telling all of your letter writers exactly what you need, when you need it by, these are the parameters. You know, not waiting until the last minute to ask somebody for a letter. That's all on you.
Yep. It is on you. Definitely. All right. David, I have my first interview invite on Friday. I'm assuming the interview is on Friday. You got the invite another time. Thanks to all your advice and support. What should I expect for a group interview? Groups are potentially scary for students. Verinia, what typical advice do you tell students what to expect and how to handle the group?
Yeah, it's a great question. Congratulations, David. One step closer. Definitely with group interviews, one thing that we emphasize constantly is balance your enthusiasm and don't be the alpha, right? You're not going to be the first one out there and talking over everyone and interrupting everyone. But you also don't want to be the sheep that's in the corner somewhere, not really talking. So you want to kind of balance your participation. Obviously, if you really are sensing that no one else wants to speak up, feel free to do that. But then if the conversation keeps going, then, let other people speak. They'll present questions, and, maybe they'll ask each one of you to answer, and, pay attention to what someone else is saying so that you can maybe follow up on something that they're saying and not repeat what they've just said. So very, very important that you're listening, you're respectful of everyone else that's in that environment, and really just, like I said before, trying to have a conversation with others in a natural way that doesn't, talk over anyone else. But they can be fun. Stressful because it's way more people, but it can be fun.
Yeah, definitely. Does hospice care count as clinical experience? Our friend joining us again. Hello. I love when joins us. I'll answer this one because I love hospice. I think it's such an important patient population, right? Those who are kind of transitioning out of this life. There's lots of loneliness going on. A lot of people are scared. And so I think there's an amazing opportunity to be with someone and just supporting them emotionally, typically not physically, but just a lot of emotional support in that situation. So I love it as clinical experience. I'll throw the caveat on there, the asterisk, that not every med school may think of it as clinical experience, right? You're not doing anything to the patient outside of that support. And so a lot of people will come back and they'll argue and be like, well, what's different if you're just sitting with a patient versus like playing bingo with them at the retirement hall? How is that not clinical experience? And there's so much nuance to all of this, but I think it's amazing clinical experience. I don't know, Dino, what do you think about this? I'd love to hear your thought. I don't know if I've heard your perspective on hospice.
I completely agree. I think that you can just gain so much experience in hospice care on so many different levels, and just realizing yourself, if you have that calling, to be there for end of life care. It's just an exceptional experience. I think it's very different than other clinical experiences.
Yeah.
Plus, engaging with families and dealing with the pressure of families going through like a trauma and grief. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you learn a lot about family dynamics during those times. That I think, and I'll say this, but you don't need to write it on an application. But I think it will help you in the future understanding those family dynamics and maneuvering through them while you're in the hospital doing rotations and all of that stuff. So, yeah, and hospice is typically very easy to get into. Most hospice organizations are typically always looking for someone. There isn't a ton of training that goes into it. And so I think hospice is fantastic for lots of reasons.
Yeah, agreed.
Haley asks, I'm thinking about leading some trips for my pre-health club to some conferences such as Mapcon. Mapcon, Haley. If you would like some discounts to Mapcon, come let me know. We'll hook you up with your club, such as the World Health Summit, Mapcon, and Global Health Conference. Those look good on the application. Verinia, we talk about this all the time in terms of like, does it look good on an application is always the question, almost always the question, right? If I do this thing, will it help? If I do that thing, will it help? What is our perspective on that kind of question?
So that part of it always bothers me because I feel like it's not about what looks good. It's about what are you doing? What are you passionate about this? Are you, contributing to this in a meaningful way? Is it helping you become a better person in the future? A better physician in some way? Are you learning? Are you engaged? That's what it should be about. And that's how you want to approach any activity, really. I mean, does this sound like a great opportunity? Absolutely. You're leading groups, you're participating in summits and things like that, Mapcon, like we were just saying. I mean, yeah, sure, it's a great experience, but I want you to, and anyone listening really, to approach any activity that you pursue because you want to be there. You're going to be able to write about it in a much more engaging and meaningful way if it's something that you're passionate about. So approach all your activities thinking, is this something that I see myself involved in? Is this valuable to me? And not just, is this going to look good?
Well said.
Good luck.
Yep. Thong? I'm in the process of looking for a lab position as an undergrad. Any tips for writing emails to professors? Oh, if ever there were a time for ChatGPT, Dina. Hey, ChatGPT, how do I write a letter asking professors if I can work in their lab? you have any advice? I know you work with lots of students and
yeah,
help
I mean,
them.
obviously, I think professionalism. Don't start an email with "Hey, hey,
Yo, you.
hey, I'm a sophomore and I'm looking for a lab experience. Do you have anything?" No, that's just, you need to give some context. Really make sure that you set the stage in a polite and professional way. Maybe offer, don't make it too long where they won't read it, but offer a little bit about your background. I'm currently a sophomore, I'm a neuroscience major. This is something I'm really interested in, and you're conducting research on, Alzheimer's. And I was wondering, if you were accepting students in your lab. I'm planning on applying to medical school. Just give a little background and just be polite about it. And then offer to meet. Maybe some professors would prefer to meet you in person to see if you're a good fit. So maybe suggest, visiting the lab to meet them in person.
Yeah, good one. All right. Rania? We have a wonderful question. Applying this cycle, retaking the MCAT in January. Any advice? Verinia, there are a couple schools. We don't know them. There's no list that I know of med schools that accept a January MCAT.
Mm-hmm.
For someone who is in this current cycle, right? The 23 to 24 cycle, 24 med entry year, as we kind of like to say. Taking a January MCAT, it's very late.
It is. It's great setup for next cycle.
Yeah.
If things don't work out.
Dot.
But I agree with you. It's very late, Rania. And I don't even know that if the schools you've applied to at this point will accept it. So I don't know if it's already scheduled. Like I said, it would set you up nicely if you have to reapply next cycle. But in this case, I actually have a question about this too. Would they update then the score? Like, would you send an update to the school? We don't, will they accept that at that point? I think it's going to depend on the school and their individual process.
Mm-hmm.
So lots to consider.
Yeah, and I don't think I'll pull up the MSAR here in a second. We can keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's published information on the MSAR. Dina, I don't know if you know, or Vernie, if you know of will we accept a January MCAT during the cycle? I think that's
I have not seen that.
Random. Yeah.
I have not seen that.
I know that it's the oldest MCAT they'll accept, but not like the newest.
If you're applying this cycle and your application is complete with an older MCAT, then it's going to be evaluated. If you listed a January MCAT, they're probably just going to use the other one. But just keep in mind that a lot of medical schools, with fall deadlines, have goals of completing their reading and their review, by the end of the calendar year, because then they're really getting invested in admissions committee. So, I mean, they could all be done reading by, December 1st or January 1st. So,
yeah. So I answered the question. So it does have on here. So oldest. So that's going back 3 years plus. And then they do have a latest on here. So the latest that this school has
okay.
is September. So this specific school will not accept a January MCAT. So for MD schools, use the MSAR and see if they'll take it or not. But most will not, unfortunately. And for that specific reason, Dina, right? Most schools have plenty of applications. They don't need to wait that long. They're trying to shore up their class, and there's
they have a schedule too, right? There's
Yeah.
a schedule of, admissions committee and, ending on what's the last interview date? Like they're moving forward.
Yeah.
So,
that
the good
train
news
is
you could have, if
moving.
you the train is left. If you're going to reapply, then, that January MCAT could come in handy.
Yep. Yeah. So I think the big decision matrix for that specific situation is if you still have secondaries you haven't done, potentially the decision algorithm for you is, do I find the 2 schools maybe that will accept a January MCAT, put all of my eggs in that basket, or do I slow down, stop working on secondaries, stop spending more money on this current cycle, and focus all of my effort on the MCAT to retake it in January? So I think that's the big question mark for that student. Awesome. All right. Reba, hello. During my gap year, I will most likely be acting as a home health aide to my grandparents. I don't like that term, acting. I will be a home health aide to my grandparents. Is this an acceptable job for medical schools? Heck yeah. That's easy.
Yeah.
Yep. So I put an asterisk on that, Verinia, in terms of students who, and right, we don't have Reba's whole story here, in terms of students who only have, I was an aide to a family member and they don't have any experience taking care of other people. What is a potential pitfall there?
Yeah, I was actually just going to bring that up, that it shouldn't be your only experience, because the experience of caring for a relative is very different than caring from someone who's not related to you. So you want to make sure that, while yes, it's valuable experience and absolutely you can talk about this on your application, you shouldn't rely on that being your only clinical experience. So if you're busy with caring for your grandparents during this time, then potentially, if you get an opportunity to volunteer somewhere or get other experience, or maybe, at some point this experience with your grandparents will end and someone else will care for them. And then you can then continue to build your clinical experiences with non-relatives. That's our best advice. Just don't just use this as the only experience on your application.
Okay.
Yes.
Alyssa, I'm a sophomore in college and just feel behind. What do you recommend a pre-med do during sophomore year? Go get a Mapped account. Check out the roadmap. MAPPD.com. Use that promo code office hours for 60 days free of Mapped Pro. Dina, this process, and I think life in general, right? The older that I get, the more I realize that everyone kind of feels like they're never enough, or they're not doing enough, or maybe that's just my own personal stuff that I'm in therapy for. I don't know. But pre-meds have this, especially because they feel like they're competing against everyone else and they see their classmates doing this thing and that thing. And oh my gosh, they have a research publication already. And I'm not even doing research. How do we give Alyssa some breath work?
I mean, it's really hard to say this is what you should have done freshman year, and now you're a sophomore, Alyssa, and this is what you should be doing during sophomore year and now junior year. Like that's really difficult to say. I think you really being organized and getting some good advising and a Mapped account and just really trying to lay everything out to make sure, working kind of like backwards from when you plan to apply, that you can fit everything in that you need to. It's not a magic formula where somebody can, will tell you like sophomore year, that's for volunteering. Junior year, that's for research. It's more what works for you and how you can, manage everything you need prior to when you plan to matriculate.
Yeah, and I just want to remind Alyssa that although you'll hear this all the time, oh, the timeline, I have to apply by a certain time frame. That timeline is relative. It's very, it's unique to each person. So don't feel like you're behind because of some
Yes.
timeline that's out there that really it's just a framework. So do what you have to do to strengthen your application. That's the most important thing. Focus on that, whatever that looks like, however long that takes, and don't worry about some arbitrary timeline.
Yep. Haley asks, as a current high school senior thinking of saving money by going to community college and then
Ooh.
transferring, would this affect my chances of medical school? I don't know if we have any person who knows anything about this transition in community college and has done research on this and spoken about this. I don't know. Dina, do you know anything?
I don't
about
know, maybe. I do, Kaylee. It's exciting time as a high school senior. Back in the day, I was a high school guidance counselor. So my favorite time of year, college application season, or just, figuring out what you want to do. I will tell you, do what's good for you. I do know that there are a lot of medical schools out there who have initiatives to increase the number of students they're accepting who came originally from community college. You can still get into medical school. You need to do what's good for you and, make sure that you have the advising and you're taking the courses that you need to, go into a degree bearing program afterwards. But there are plenty of people getting accepted to medical school who started off at community college. So if that's what's best for you financially, then do it.
Yep.
And good luck.
Yeah. And we do have to add the caveat, right? That yes, there still are some bonehead admissions committees out there that have a more negative view of community college.
You're right.
But big picture, it won't be a problem.
Yeah.
All right. David, what should you do for LORs if you are a long time out long time out of school, non-trad, or maybe they're trying to give some mathematical equation, like some logarithmic. I've been out of school logarithmic years. Who has a master's in an unrelated science? I feel it won't be a strong letter if I ask a professor who I had in a class I took with 10 to 14 years ago. So really, the core of this question is, should I ask for a letter of recommendation from a professor that I had 10 to 14 years ago? Easy answer, no, right? A letter is supposed to be from someone who knows you now. And so, this is hard, Verinia, for students who have been out of school for a while and are applying to schools that will not accept any sort of variations in letters. And David, the first thing is go and ask the schools and say, hey, I've been out of school for a long time.
Yeah.
Can I give you different letters? If a school says, no, this is what we require, like, should David just go take a random class at a community college just to get a letter?
I mean, if, like you said, you've looked into whether or not they'll accept other letters, it may come down to that. If they're really being stringent on, the science or a recent academic letter, I don't know if you've done research that could potentially, you could use that. But the idea of having to go back and take a class just for the letter is, it's a hard pill to swallow. I just don't see any other way around it. I would, again, do the research, take a look at each school that you're interested in. You can even call them, explain your situation. But if they're really holding firm to this, look into potentially taking, classes that are going to benefit you in medical school, upper levels, upper division science courses that could come in handy as well. And that's how you can start building relationships with that professor. not right off the bat say, hey, I need a letter from you, but, slowly over time in that class, you're building that relationship with that professor. Hopefully it's a class, like I said, that you're going to benefit from. Build that relationship with that professor and eventually ask them. Any other recommendations? Yeah. Sorry, David.
It's a hard one. Yeah, I think a lot of schools are flexible, especially out of school that long. I wish more schools were transparent about that flexibility, so everyone's time isn't wasted. You're reaching out to the admissions committee and or the admissions office and saying, "Hey, here's my situation." Right? I always mention Sam Houston State because they very clear on their website say, if you have been out of school for more than a year, you can use whatever letters you want, right? Up to however many, right? Super clear, super transparent. Nobody's time is wasted wondering and emailing. And it's like, come on, schools, you can do this.
Yeah.
Aimbot. Aimbot. Typically, how many hours of research and clinical experience do you recommend to be competitive applicant, as well as non-clinical volunteer experience? Verenia's shaking her head, face palm.
It's one of those days.
One of those. Dina, is there a number that we can tell students?
No, for questions like this, I usually refer students to the, if you Google AMCAS by the numbers every year, they come up with a nice PDF giving you all of the demographics and numbers from the previous application cycle. I think the latest one that's out is for like 2022 matriculants. And way at the bottom right corner, you'll see that, the average number of community service hours was like, I don't know, something like 436. The average number of research hours was like 1,350. Like, look up that data to maybe just get a general sense of what is happening on the admissions and application landscape. But this isn't, oh, great, you got it. My favorite. I show this to every student I meet with. It's my favorite. And you'll see right there in the bottom right-hand corner, I had it reversed, I think. Oh, no, I had it correct. Yeah, so out of, 49,000 applicants, this was the average. And I think that this is, good information for you to have because there's no magic number. It's the breadth and depth of your experiences.
Yeah, these scare me.
They do.
People love this. It scares me because how many applicants do you know, Dina, that have 1,360 research hours? Students not applying to MD PhD programs. Right, that's a ton of hours.
I mean, I've seen a lot of research hours on applications. I mean,
So here's where I get into a little bit of chicken and egg situation. Do we see 1,360 hours because med schools report that the average number of research hours is 1,360, and so students are like, "Oh my God, I need more! I need more! I need more! I need more!" And so all it's doing is perpetuating this really high number. Versus med schools are looking for, like 100, 200, where self-reflection and you're able to talk about research and why it's important and all that stuff. And we just see this continuing inflation of the number because students are chasing this number. And so I love data. I love transparency, but it scares me that I think we interpret this data as, oh, this is the number I have to hit.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely not the number you have to hit. I think if you have no research hours, and you're like, I'm okay applying with none, and you see this, then maybe you can say to yourself, seems like I might need research if other applicants are submitting it. But I do agree with that. I particularly like the age data on this because there's so many times we get students who are like, I'm 27 and I'm too old to apply. And I pull this up and I'm like, oldest enrollee, 53 years old. No, you're not.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So I love this data. I love how pretty it is. Very easy to look at. And don't look at this number and go, oh my gosh, I only have 500 hours of research. I'm not going to get it. Right.
Yeah.
That's not what this data is showing.
It's another resource to just gather information.
Yep. Exactly. Cool. I like how they put, hey, we work hard too. This is how much we're working.
I know. The call center.
It's like the biggest one too. The biggest
This
graphic.
is how many calls we get. Please don't call.
Please don't call. Yeah. Anyway. All right, cool. Before we move on, I would love to potentially number one, remind people Mapcon.com, Mapcon, our first in-person conference, live and in person, October 6th through 8th, presented by Blueprint MCAT in Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore is super easy to get to, straight down 95, straight up 95, fly into BWI, quick Uber to the hotel right in the beautiful Inner Harbor area. October 6th through 8th, we'll all be there in person. We have tons of speakers. Go to mapcon.com. You can see all of our exhibitors, all of our speakers, our current kind of lineup in terms of schedule. You once you get a ticket, you're welcome to come to everything that's there. And so, yeah, come hang out with us. If you potentially would like a free ticket, leave a comment right now and let us know. If you're on Instagram, go over to premed.tv, which is our YouTube channel. Leave a comment and tell us why you are excited to go to Mapcon, and we'll pick a couple and throw them up on the screen and see if we can give away some tickets. So go do that right now. We'll keep answering some questions for the next few minutes as well. Book your ticket today. Get your ticket. How can I get admissions committees to look beyond 9 Fs and 12 Ws on my transcript? I have a 509 MCAT and great ECs. Tyler, come to my session tonight. Go to premedworkshop.com, where I talk about a student who had 16 Fs on her transcript. I don't know, Verinia, for a student like this, right? It's both looking beyond and also showing recent track record of being able to do well. I think a lot of people leave that part out of the question.
Yeah.
What do you recommend Tyler here do?
Yeah, definitely. Like, looking at something like this, we don't know when were those Fs and Ws. Were they mostly in your first 2 years of school and then you kind of figured things out and improved? Or have they been scattered throughout, showing inconsistencies? Or worse yet, was it all in your last year of schooling? So that's where this idea of trends, GPA trends matter, comes into play here. So they tell a story, right? If you had started off really rocky, but were able to pick things up again, and even though your GPA may be low, you showed improvement. That says a lot about who you are as a student and the fact that you're able to kind of figure things out and improve. You might need to do a little bit more work to extend that upward trend. Or, like I said, if it's inconsistent, do you have a sustained period of time, anywhere from a year to 2 years, where you did show improvement and you continue to pull your GPA up? So all of that is taken into consideration. It's not that committees just look at your GPA and that's it. They don't look at the story behind it. They look at everything. If you're in that situation where it's sort of inconsistent, the best thing to do would then be to consider, maybe, do I need to do a postbac? Do I need to do a special master's program to show academic capability and to show improvement and to show that you're a different student now than you were back then? Have you figured it out? Have you figured out how to study? Yes, you have a decent MCAT score and you have great activities, but how, have you figured out how to study, how to learn, how to perform well academically? So those are all things that they're looking for, and things that you need to consider. And a MAP account could actually help you out. If you want to go ahead and complete a MAP account, go to map.com, fill it out. We can actually give you feedback on that as well. Go ahead, enter all those courses, and we can look at those trends and let you know.
Heck yeah. Map.com, mappd.com.
Yeah.
Couldn't afford that E. Grace asks, I'm excited to meet and see all of the MAPS team in person. All right, Grace.
Excited to meet you, Grace.
I've been listening to the podcast for 2 years. I even made a presentation at my school pre-health club about how beneficial MAP is. I love it. I'm assuming, Grace, you want a ticket to MAP.
I was just about to say.
That's the part that we're in. Yeah, heck yeah, Grace. Let's get you a ticket. Email info@mapped.com. Again, that's INFO, info at mapped, MAPPD.com, and let them know that you won a free ticket on Premed office hours. Fluffy Cookie, when was the good time to ask letter recommendations from professors? We talked about that a little bit, right? Ideally, letters are dated the year that you apply. If you're a sophomore, you can start having that conversation and just stay in touch with the professor. So I think earlier is better, and you don't need to start technically collecting them until your application year. So that's that. Naz, is submitting secondaries now worth it or too late? Oh, Dina, timing question, right? There's so much that goes into this question. Too late? Submit? What do you think?
It depends. I mean, if it's one school that like you're like, oh, I'm going to add this school and their deadline isn't until later, you can, but just keep in mind that, you know, not only have interviews been going on now for like over a month, but there are some schools that already started sending like rejections out. Admissions committees are meeting. So, I mean, you know, you're a little behind, but I mean, if you're talking about all your secondaries, I would say no, it's a little too late. If you're talking about just adding like one or two, then, you know, within the deadline, then, you know, it might be okay. But you just have to understand that it's not optimal.
Yeah. I think there's so much that goes into this too, right? When was the primary submitted? When did you get the secondaries? And so,
right.
Yeah. Do it. Trey, got my first interview invite Monday. What are the best ways to prepare for MMI and traditional interviews? Mock interviews are expensive. We have a sale going on right now at medicalschoolhq.net. Trey, go check it out. What are the best options? Vernia, MMI. We talked a little bit about group interviews earlier. What are your general suggestions for the MMI?
Well, first, actually, we're having a workshop on MMIs, I believe, tomorrow.
Oh, are we? Yes, we are.
So
go to premedworkshop.com.
Check it out, Trey. So MMIs, the best thing to think about when you're approaching an MMI is usually it's potentially, not always, but an ethical scenario of some sort. Or a scenario where you're presented with a situation and you have to respond. You're given instructions on how to respond. And what they're looking for is, how are you thinking through this situation? Are you considering all perspectives? Or are you just approaching it very one-sided and not, you know, thinking of other ways to approach the situation? So really talking through your answers with the interviewer. Remember, there's no one right answer to these. Usually, there's no one right answer. They just want to see and hear your thought process. How did you arrive at your decision? Are you making logical, conclusions out of the information that's there? Are you using critical thinking skills? Are you using, ethical and sound judgment? So it's, again, there's no right or wrong answer, or there's no one right answer. There's just a different insight and perspectives that you bring in how you respond to that question. That's what they're looking for. So making sure that you're talking out those answers. Practice. You can Google MMI scenarios, and there's stuff online that you can look into. You can pick up a copy of Dr. Gray's interview prep book to help you through some of those scenarios. And keeping in mind, like I said, just going in, looking at the scenario from multiple perspectives and making sure to talk that out, talk through that with the interviewer. And yeah, come to the workshop tomorrow.
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice for MMI is what would you do in real life, right? I think a lot of these scenarios are very forced, and it's like, I don't know. I'm like, just calm down. Like, what potentially would be an equivalent of this happening in real life, and just talk through that, right? We go through these, we go through SJTs, situational judgment tests, every day, all day. You walk into the store, you see something that's out of the blue. How do you respond? Like, this is just life that we're dealing with here. And when I tell that to students, they're like, oh yeah, I guess.
Go with your gut. I told a student once. He told me some outlandish answer, and I said, wait a second. What would you really do in this situation? And it was a completely different answer. So yeah, because they think they have to answer in the way the medical schools want to hear. You don't know what they're looking for. So answer it the way or respond to it the way you would in real life.
Authentic answers are so much better. Drea, would sending in your primary application right now still give you a chance to get an interview at a top 20 school if you have stats on par with their median score and good number of experiences? So, first and foremost, Drea must be new to us because top 22, U.S. News and World Reports, I'm assuming, which is a trash organization that doesn't mean anything.
Many schools aren't participating in anymore.
Yeah, a lot of schools are pulling out their participation in that. Dina is sending a primary now. It's mid-September.
Can take a shot, but your application it might take months to get reviewed, and by that time, like interview slots are filled, acceptances start to go out mid-October. So as long as you know that it's late.
Well,
go ahead, Brenda.
Sorry, it just annoys me because why does it have to be a T20, right? A top 20 or whatever. Like, why are you limiting yourself? Based on some random criteria. So, sorry, I have to get that
a random list. I have a studio light over here with a little like softbox over it, and there's a spider crawling inside. I'm like, oh man,
you can have a shadow on your face.
The spider shadow.
The spider.
What is this thing? Wait, where's the shadow? There it is. Anyway, any other Mapcon comments for us? I'm excited to go to Mapcon to finally attach legs to the face. It's a little creepy. I want to see your legs. I've been watching the past 2 years.
Shirt or a skirt.
Also, I'll wear my kilt. Also excited to get to speak to local schools attending. I'm a Maryland native. Heck yeah, come and hang out.
Yes.
Sonia, email info@mapped.com. We'll get you a ticket.
That's a winner.
Winner, chicken dinner. Being Barb, I'm excited for Mapcon because applying is daunting and knowledge is empowering. Yes. I have a tattoo that says knowledge is power. I love it. Although if I got it again today, I would get knowledge is potential power because you have to put that knowledge into action to actually make use of it. So growing older and wiser, being Barb, would love to have you at Mapcon. Again, email info@mapped.com. Let them know you won a free ticket on Premed office hours. I was wondering if shadowing abroad programs, probably last question. For everyone else for Mapcon, go to mapcon.com, check out our speakers, check out our exhibitors, go get your tickets. And we have a few hotel rooms left. Go check those out. Zaid asks, I was wondering if shadowing abroad programs are good for a medical school application. How would admissions value being part of something like this? Verena, we talked a little bit about like number one, is it good for the application kind of question right off the bat? Number two, shadowing abroad. What do you think?
Yeah, it's probably not as meaningful to a school, right? So the medical system in this country is very different from the medical system in another country. So what you're learning there may not necessarily be the same here. I think that, obviously pursue it if that's something that you're interested in. It's a good experience to see different things and compare the two, but don't approach it as, oh, this is going to look great on my application, because the likelihood is that they're just not going to really value it. And Dina, you could probably speak to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I need more context, right? Like, is this your only shadowing experience?
True.
If it is, then, no, you need more, like Brinia said, like with our medical system. But is this part of like, you did an immersive semester abroad, like becoming fully fluent in Spanish, and you were in a different country and it really like, tied to everything that you're doing. It's something extra. It's something extra.
Yeah. I was looking at, there used to be at least one med school that specifically said shadowing abroad, we weren't going to count. I'm looking at their website now. I won't say who it is, but it doesn't look like, it looks like they removed that kind of caveat.
Well, I think it makes sense based on what Gina was saying.
So they actually changed their language. Before it was very strict. We won't consider it. Now it says you are encouraged to pursue domestic patient care experiences. And they have shadowing and clinical kind of mashed together. However, international patient care is considered. So they have changed their language.
Yeah, because that's different.
Okay.
Yeah. Patient care is patient care, no matter where you are.
Yep. All right. Well, Premed office hours, another wonderful hour in the books. Friends, we are here almost every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, answering your questions for free. Go to premed.tv, subscribe to the channel to get notified when we go live, or just be ready. Put it in your calendar. Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Eastern. Easy as that. If you need me to convert time zones, you're not ready to be a doctor yet. I'm just kidding. Then Mapcon.com. Come hang out with us. It's going to be so much fun over the course of the weekend. Again, tons of sessions, workshops. We have lots of exhibitors, medical schools that are going to be there. Even the actual American Association of Colleges of Osteopathic Medicine, the organization itself is going to be there exhibiting, connecting with students. So that's pretty cool. So come hang out with us, mapcon.com, presented by Blueprint MCAT. Dina, final word of wisdom.
Hope to see you in October.
Yeah. Verinia?
Same. See you all in October.
See you in October. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.